The Campbeltown Loch blended malt Scotch whiskey, it says Springbank. But is it any good? Let's find out. So if you watch whiskey tuber videos, you've undoubtedly heard a lot of my fellow whiskey tubers rave about Springbank. You've probably heard a lot of people complain the unavailability of Springbank, the high cost, and what they're going for on the secondary market, and so on and so forth, due to the nature in which the distillery is run, all manual, basically everything from from malt to bottle, everything's done in-house. They have a maximum capacity of 700,000 liters. They're only producing at around 400,000 liters. A lot of raving, small supply, high demand equals high prices, right? And everybody's getting ticked off. And so you're at a whiskey shop and you see this bottle and you go, Campbeltown Loch, what's it? Oh, Springbank. Oh, I've heard a lot about that one. Ooh, could it be any good? Well, let's find out. But before I get into this, here are my notes. The Campbeltown Loch Blended Malt Scotch Whisky. Campbeltown Loch is a blended malt whiskey that is made up of all 5 Campbeltown malt brands, including Springbank, Longrow, Hazelburn, Kilcairn, and Glen Scotia. The bottle date on this bottle is July 25th, 2022. It's bottled at 46% alcohol by volume. Retails anywhere between $66 and $99 with an average price of $84. So as you saw there in the notes, it's from more than just Springbank. It's also from their sister distillery, Glen Gyle, as well as their neighbor just around the corner, Glen Scotia. Hence it's a blended malt and not a single malt. But it is 100% malt. Now, when you're buying something and something has a lot of label or branding cachet, you can't always assume that necessarily it's going to be as good as everything else associated with that name. In fact, one of the things about Springbank is sometimes a lack of consistency, a lot of variance, as you would say, from bottling to bottling. But, cask for cask, you're going to have some variances in whiskeys. Unlike, blended whiskeys in which they take, 30, 40 odd whiskeys from different distilleries and blend them all and try to keep them consistent year after year. The nature, and one of the things we like about single malts is, yes, there can be some differences. But is this one any good? Is it worth buying? First I want to say is when I first opened it, wasn't a whole lot going on there. It was very muted. It really wasn't expressing itself. I've had this now for a few weeks and been going back to it a little bit by a little bit. I've now got it just below the label and it's starting to express itself a little bit more. Very, I'd say, low to medium intense pears. Definitely honeyed. Definitely a maltiness, no smoke, no peat, nothing like that. Even though some of what went into the blend, from, if you understand, seen from other videos, the production process of Springbank Distillery, a couple of those brands that go into this, I do have some peat in them, but I'm not getting any smoke or anything like that. Perhaps a little bit of melon, apple, pear. Not a whole lot going on. I would say it's more honeyed than it is fruity. On the palate, golden delicious apples, pears, honey, distinctive maltiness, cask influence shows up on the back end. You get more vanilla, cinnamon, baking spices, cardamom, and so forth. The intensity of the flavors is low to medium. This is not a big kapow of flavor. It's very mild, not a whole lot of transition necessarily from the front and middle into the finish. The finish is getting better. I would say it was fairly short when I first was getting it. It's now getting better. It's medium to medium plus in length of finish. It's an okay whiskey. There's nothing surprising here. There's nothing mind-blowing here. There's nothing revelatory here. There's nothing that's really going to grab your attention. There's nothing here that's really going to spark a conversation. It's just sort of an okay whiskey. If I was tasting this blind, I'd say it kind of reminds me of sort of your basic lowland malt. Now, one of the things in terms of blends, the advantage of a blend is supposed to be that a master blender can take a little bit of this, a little bit of that, put together a recipe for blending a whiskey, and consequently get it as to where it should be. To me, this reminds me of times in which I have a bunch of samples, you know, maybe doing a tasting, maybe doing comparison of whiskeys, maybe doing a live stream, which I do a bunch of whiskeys, and then after I'm filming or after studying or whatever, I just take them all, put them all into one glass, and then go watch some television. You know, it's sort of a non-thoughtful blend where I just kind of throw everything together. Sometimes it can come out all right. Sometimes it'd be like, the individual parts were better on their own than when they were all put together. Just because you have a lot of great musicians doesn't necessarily mean you can put them all together. You take a saxophonist and a heavy metal guitarist and I don't know, someone who plays a ukulele and someone, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean you want to take all those and put those together. They might be fine on their own, but you don't necessarily want bagpipes with a ukulele, with a xylophone. You know, not necessarily want to put these together. At least I did when I want to listen to it. It can become quite the cacophony rather than beautiful music. So, I don't find this necessarily to be some great blend, some artful, you know, putting together various malts to come to a great profile. If you've ever experienced Japanese whiskeys, even if Japanese whiskeys are not really Japanese whiskeys and they're taking things from, say, Balvenie over into Japan and putting them together, they do tend to be masterful in their blends. That's really the art of Japanese whiskeys, not necessarily the stills or the casks or the terroir of Japan. It's the masterful blending, the ability to put whiskeys together to achieve an optimal profile of whiskey. To me, this doesn't have that kind of art. It's an okay whiskey. It's a nice whiskey. It's not bad. It's just, what would I give in terms of score? I'll go solid 85 points. Basically a B score on if it was on paper, you know, in school. It's an okay whiskey. Nothing to stick your nose up at, but also nothing to rave about. It's just sort of okay. All right, that's it for this review. If you subscribe to this channel, I want to thank you very much. If you've not yet subscribed, if you like watching my videos, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe. Ring the bell to be notified for when I go live. And check out some of the other videos that I put in here at the end of this. All right, until next time, Slanjava. Hey, don't forget to subscribe and check out these other whiskey videos.